They were the most powerful men in the history of the Western world, gods in their own minds, masters of legions, rulers of an empire that stretched from the sands of North Africa to the moors of Scotland. But power, in Rome, was the most dangerous thing a man could possess, and the higher you rose, the further you had to fall. How every infamous Roman emperor died. Gaius Julius Caesar Germanicus, better known to history as Caligula, came to power in 37 AD as a beloved prince. Within 3 years, Rome would call him a monster. He declared himself a living god. He humiliated senators by making them run alongside his chariot. He reportedly made his horse a consul. Whether literal or exaggerated, these stories tell us something crucial. By January of 41 AD, Caligula had made enemies of the very men sworn to protect him. On January 24, 41 AD, Caligula descended through an underground passage beneath the Palatine Hill after watching athletic games. The Praetorian officers were waiting. Cassius Chaerea, a man Caligula had routinely mocked for his high-pitched voice, struck the first blow. 30 strikes of the blade. The god emperor of Rome died screaming on his stone floor, surrounded by the men he trusted most. He was 28 years old. Nero is Rome's great paradox. A man who fancied himself a poet, a singer, a charioteer, an artist, who ruled the greatest empire on earth and burned it down through sheer narcissism. Whether or not he truly fiddled while Rome burned in 64 AD, his response rebuilding his own palatial Domus Aurea, the Golden House, on the ruins, told his people everything they needed to know. By June 68 AD, revolt had spread across the empire. The Senate declared him a public enemy. The Praetorian Guard abandoned him. One by one, his allies vanished. He fled Rome in disguise, reaching a villa a few miles outside the city. As horsemen approached to take him alive, Nero pressed a dagger to his own throat, but could not do it alone. His secretary, Epaphroditus, had to guide his hand. His last recorded words, according to Suetonius, "What an artist dies in me." He was 30 years old. Domitian was not mad in the theatrical way of Caligula or Nero. He was something perhaps more dangerous, methodical, suspicious, and absolutely convinced that everyone around him wanted him dead. He was right. Domitian ordered executions of senators, demanded to be addressed as Lord and God, and according to the historian Suetonius, even had the palace corridors polished to a mirror shine so he could see anyone approaching from behind. On September 18, 96 AD, a conspiracy that included his own wife finally moved. A freedman named Stephanos, who had hidden a dagger in a bandaged arm, entered the emperor's bedroom on a pretext and struck. Domitian fought back with his bare hands, trying to claw out Stephanos' eyes. Others rushed in and stabbed him 7 times. He was 44 years old. Commodus believed he was the reincarnation of Hercules. He renamed Rome Commodiana. He renamed the months of the year after himself. He fought in the Colosseum against crippled opponents who stood no chance and declared himself undefeated champion of the world. On the last day of 192 AD, his inner circle, his mistress Marcia, his chamberlain Eclectus, and the Praetorian prefect Letus learned that Commodus had drawn up a kill list. Their names were on it. Marcia put poison in his wine, but he vomited it up. There was no time to hesitate. They sent in Narcissus, his personal wrestling partner, who drowned the emperor of Rome in his own bath. Commodus was 31 years old. Caracalla, named after the Gallic cloak he popularized, was a soldier's emperor. He raised soldiers' pay. He slept with his troops. He personally executed his own brother Geta, then ordered the murder of 20,000 of Geta's supporters. By 217 AD, he was campaigning in the east, near the ancient city of Kare in modern-day Turkey. On April 8th, the emperor stopped on the roadside to relieve himself. It was the opportunity his enemies had been waiting for. A soldier named Julius Martialis drove a blade into his back. Within moments, he was dead on a roadside in the middle of nowhere, the all-powerful emperor reduced, at the last, to a man in an undignified position. He was 29 years old. Elagabalus became emperor at 14. By 16, he had shocked Rome beyond recovery. He installed a black meteorite as Rome's supreme deity, forced senators to watch him dance naked around an altar, and allegedly prostituted himself in the palace. Rome had seen tyrants. It had never quite seen this. His grandmother Julia Maesa, the real power behind the throne, realized he was unsalvageable. She engineered the adoption of his cousin, Severus Alexander, as heir, and the Praetorian Guard received the signal. Elagabalus and his mother Soemias were found hiding in a latrine. They were killed where they cowered. Their bodies were dragged through the streets of Rome and thrown into the Tiber River. He was 18 years old. Maximinus Thrax was by ancient accounts a giant over 7 feet tall, with hands so large he wore his wife's bracelet as a thumb ring. He was the first emperor who had never set foot in Rome. He was a soldier, pure and simple, and he governed that way, squeezing the provinces dry to fund endless campaigns. By 238 AD, his own army had had enough. Besieging the Italian city of Aquileia, starving and demoralized, his troops made a decision. His own soldiers entered his tent and killed him. His severed head was displayed on a pole. Gordian III became emperor at 13, a child emperor surrounded by men who would decide his fate. His Praetorian prefect, a man of Arab origin named Philip, systematically cut off the young emperor's supply lines on campaign in Mesopotamia, engineering a crisis that would force the army to look for new leadership. In February 244 AD, Gordian III died. The official story promoted by Philip, who became emperor immediately after, was that he died of wounds in battle. Later Roman sources believed Philip had him killed. He was 19 years old. In 260 AD, Emperor Valerian suffered the greatest humiliation in Roman imperial history. He was captured alive on the battlefield by the Persian king Shapur I at the Battle of Edessa. No Roman emperor had ever been taken prisoner by an enemy. Valerian spent the rest of his life in captivity in Persia. Persian rock reliefs still show Shapur I using the Roman emperor as a mounting block for his horse. Ancient sources suggest he was eventually flayed alive, his skin stuffed with straw, and hung in a Persian temple as a trophy. He may have been the most important emperor Rome never got back. Aurelian is one of Rome's greatest forgotten emperors. In 5 years, he reunited an empire that had fractured into 3 pieces, defeated the warrior queen Zenobia of Palmyra, and built the massive city walls that still surround Rome today. He was called Restitutor Orbis, restorer of the world. He was also known for strict discipline. So when one of his secretaries, a man named Eros, forged a list of officers Aurelian supposedly intended to execute, those officers didn't investigate. They struck first. In 275 AD, on the road to Persia, Aurelian was assassinated by the very men he had counted on to make Rome great again. History never found out if he truly intended to execute them. Galerius was the architect of Rome's last great persecution of Christians, ordering the destruction of churches, the burning of scriptures, and the execution of those who refused to sacrifice to Rome's gods. For 8 years, he presided over systematic terror. Then, in 311 AD, Galerius fell violently ill. Ancient sources describe his abdomen rotting from within, swarms of worms, they said, eating him alive. Whether it was bowel cancer, Fournier's gangrene, or something else, it was agonizing and humiliating. In his final days, Galerius issued the Edict of Toleration, ending the Christian persecution. Whether from genuine conversion, terror, or political calculation, we cannot know. He died shortly after in unimaginable pain. Julian was Rome's last pagan emperor, a brilliant philosopher-soldier who reversed Constantine's Christianization of the empire and attempted to restore the old gods. Christians called him the apostate. His own soldiers were half Christian, and Julian knew it. During a disastrous retreat from Persia in June 363 AD, Julian rode into a skirmish without his breastplate, impulsively, rashly. A spear caught him under the ribs, piercing his liver. He was carried from the field and died that night. Ancient sources say Julian spent his final hours in philosophical discussion, thanking the gods for letting him die a worthy death. His last words may have been a quotation from Plato. He was 31 years old. With him died the last serious attempt to return Rome to its pagan roots. There is a famous story, possibly apocryphal but irresistible, that when a courtier told Honorius that Rome has perished, the emperor cried out in anguish, then realized the courtier meant the city, not his favorite chicken, which was also named Roma. He immediately calmed down. Whether true or not, it perfectly captures Honorius, the Western emperor who was present for the sack of Rome by the Visigoths in 410 AD and contributed nothing. He cowered in Ravenna while the Eternal City fell and died of edema, excess fluid in the tissues, in 423 AD. He was 38 years old. Rome itself was dying. Honorius just didn't notice. Romulus Augustulus. His very name is ironic. Romulus, the founder of Rome. Augustus, the first emperor. And yet, Augustulus means Little Augustus. He was a boy of about 14, a puppet emperor installed by his father Orestes, ruling a rump state that called itself Rome but controlled almost nothing. In September 476 AD, the Germanic chieftain Odoacer deposed him. Unlike every other emperor, Romulus Augustulus was not killed. He was considered too inconsequential even for that. Odoacer sent him to a villa in Campania with a pension. He was just a boy. The last emperor of the Western Roman Empire lived out his days in comfortable obscurity. The Western Empire simply stopped. Not with a battle, not with a funeral pyre, but with a teenager staring at the sea. After 1,000 years, Rome was over. Justinian, the second emperor of Byzantium, heir to the legacy of Rome in the East, had his nose cut off during his first deposition in 695 AD. The mutilation was meant to disqualify him from the throne, since Roman tradition held that a disfigured man could not rule. They underestimated him. Justinian had a golden prosthetic nose fashioned, allied himself with the Bulgar Khan, and retook Constantinople by force in 705 AD. His revenge was merciless. Then the cycle repeated. Another revolt, another deposition. This time there would be no exile. In 711 AD, Justinian II was captured and executed. His severed head was sent to Rome and to Ravenna, the ghost empires of the West he still claimed to rule. He was the last of the Heraclian dynasty. His son, brought out beside him, was killed as well. With them ended a line of Roman emperors that stretched, however tenuously, back to Augustus himself. 15 emperors, 15 deaths, stabbings and stranglings, drownings and disease, exile and execution, a sword in an alley, a spear in a retreat, a prosthetic nose glinting on a severed head. Rome's imperial system was brilliant and monstrous in equal measure. It raised ordinary men to the heights of divinity, and then discovered, again and again, that no system built around one man's absolute power could survive that man's flaws. And yet Rome endures. Its laws form the foundation of Western justice. Its language lives in every Roman's tongue. Its architecture still stands. Its stories still captivate us, not despite their horror, but partly because of it. Because in every emperor who overreached, in every assassination that followed, in every mad overclaim of divine authority, we see something uncomfortably recognizable. Power does not change, only the costumes do. If you watch till the end and love these type of story, subscribe to get more documentary content like this. Thank you.